Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Jon, welcome to Consulting Leaders. Let's jump straight into it. What pulled you into the world of sales leadership and eventually go-to-market advisory work?
Yeah, so I spent 16 years in B2B tech sales. So I've done the individual contributor thing, the frontline sales manager, director, VP of sales, CRO. And so it was kind of a natural progression, I would say, just from doing the individual contributor sales rep thing, then moving into management, and then eventually VP of sales. So kind of like worked my way up through the ranks in B2B tech sales. So that's kind of how I morphed into that. And then in my last full-time head of sales roles at a prop tech company in the SaaS world, a lot of the portfolio companies would reach out to our founder to be like, hey, what are you guys doing better and different than us? Like share our tips. And we were all same Portco family. And my CEO would rope me into the calls and say, oh, talk to Jon. He's our resident expert. He can help you with comp plans or a hiring framework or building out a playbook. And I found myself giving free consulting. And I also found myself really enjoying it, just being an objective third party to someone's business and understanding like their challenges and problems, but not being like emotionally enmeshed in the business and having like a third party viewpoint where I can kind of point out blind spots. And it was my third time as head of sales at an early stage company at the time. So I had a lot of insight and expertise, often from making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. So I eventually like kind of parlayed that into a side hustle in consulting. And then about a year and a half ago, I went off fully on my own and launched Aligned Advisory Group. So for the first 2 years, it's been 3.5 years consulting. It was a side hustle while I was head of sales at an early stage tech company. And so I've really enjoyed it. It's been a huge passion for sure.
I love when it's the natural progression of one's career. And it's just like, I started doing it in my previous job and I was like, I can probably get paid a lot of money to do that.
Yeah.
Let's jump into this.
Yeah, I think this could be a good move for me and I enjoy it, you know.
And was it a good move, Jon?
It was a great move.
Nice.
And also like I hired a consultant at one of the companies where I was head of sales, and they kind of operationalized my vision and the process, gave a lot of good feedback, led our sales training, and we kind of co-led it. So I kind of like rode shotgun with another consultant that was building out my process. And he actually told me, hey, you know, you might be interested in doing this. Like you could either come work for me or do your own thing. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I'll kind of think about that. And then that coupled with people reaching out from our portfolio, from our PE group, the Portcos, it kind of like it was a natural like guiding light towards moving into the field.
Oh, out of curiosity, tell me a bit more about what a sales consultant does. I mean, that's merging the two worlds that I love the most, right? Consulting and sales. Unfortunately, you need focus in life, so I focus on the consulting part of it.
Yeah.
But so there is all the sales motion, right? And then there is helping people actually close, so more like the training part.
For sure.
Consulting is a bit different. So tell me more about what you do, and let's position it from the framework of like what problem you help solving in the B2B tech space, and for who you do that specifically.
No, that's a great question. Yeah, no problem. So basically when I come into an engagement, I'll do an audit. So I'll look at like a gaps analysis. I'll look at people, process, tools, interview the team, come up with a summary of findings and recommendations. During that time, there's a huge data dump. They're sending me all their sales and marketing collateral. I have access to their CRM. I mean, that's like the single source of truth. It's really easy to uncover the challenges of the business when you look into CRM. You couple that with value messaging, listening to chorus or gong calls, or you know, all of their video recordings of their sales conversations with prospects. So all those insights are a lot of data points to kind of put together a complete story. And I would say, one of my superpowers is synthesizing raw data, like kind of piecing it together and creating a story. And so once I do that, it's very easy to understand like what challenges they have. And then I put together a program to operationalize it. And that usually looks like a playbook, which is like a 60-day build. So you look at, value messaging, objection handling, competitive analysis, industry 101 for that industry, the operating rhythm that the reps take, the calls, emails, meetings, discovery calls, everything you need, demos, etc., to move the deal forward, and even building out a repeatable sales process. So think about a Kanban view of their sales process. What are all the things that need to be true to move from one stage to the next? So entry, exit criteria, rolling out a qualification framework, all of those things are embedded. And then I'll stay on throughout a year's time to operationalize that, train the team, do executive syncs, run pipeline review calls, one-on-ones with key team members. So that's kind of how it looks like. And in terms of, I guess, the signals for my help at an organization, think about low win rates, high customer churn, high forecast variance, like they're either under or over is a big one, low win rate, all those types of things. Lacking pipeline or inconsistent pipeline build over time, rep productivity in general, like ARR per rep, win rate per rep. Those are a lot of easy signs, or even over discounting. And a lot of times low win rate is a function of having them focus on the wrong ideal customer profile, ICP. So a lot of times it's like, especially at earlier stage companies, they might be like an inch deep and a mile wide. And when they just hone in on the right customer, a lot of good things happen, like bigger deals are done, higher win rate, all the things happen from that. So a lot of times it's just a function of focus and just helping them focus on the right things. Your other part of the question, who I serve, this is a pretty wide range, but like early stage, growth stage, B2B SaaS companies, it can range from like 2 million to 50 million. I'd say like the 2 to 20 million ARR is kind of a sweet spot. It's still messy. Maybe they've recently transitioned from founder-led sales and they've built out a team, and the team is running, there's 6 sales reps and they're all running different processes. They're all over the place. So it's getting them all in alignment, building out a process, coaching to that, holding them accountable, and then the growth comes.
There is a lot of golden nuggets I want to dig into here.
Yeah. Sure.
So back to the problem that you're solving. So it's basically helping B2B SaaS companies in early stage and growth stage phase grow by
Correct.
making more sales. Obviously, as one could expect, there is so much more that goes into all this. And it's funny because you've mentioned some things that you would attribute more to marketing, right? Lacking pipeline is literally we're not getting enough leads in the first place to sell those leads.
Right.
You mentioned high customer churn. And I'm like, this is more on the product. Although when you get into sales, you also understand that if you do everything to sell, but that's actually not the right framing, the right message, the right person, the right time, they will just churn after a few weeks.
Absolutely.
So tell me a bit more about that. Like, how do you, this is pretty big. There is so many things to cover. So give me and I know that's the question that everybody asks and that's you probably get bored out of, but like the three things that you see in B2B SaaS companies, earlier growth stage, that usually when you come in, you fix, and that helps unlock most of the growth. There's always going to be those
Right.
the theory of constraint. So what is that in your case?
I would say the 3 things are ideal customer profile. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're focused on the wrong person or the wrong profile company, bad things will happen in general, especially your KPIs will tell you that. 2, focusing on the right people for the company. A lot of times they're like, oh, we hired this great Salesforce rep. I'm like, well, that Salesforce rep has had infinite resources, a seat at the table, brand recognition, and they're working at a scrappy startup. Is that really the right profile person? So ICP is a big one, hiring the right people, having the right people on the bus for the right age and stage of the company, and then the sales process. So sometimes, especially if it's a non-technical founder or it's a technical founder that's hired a VP of sales from a different company, that VP of sales, to no fault of their own, right, assuming positive intent here, they're going to bring in their process and lift and shift it over when it's not necessarily mapped to the ICP personas they're serving. Maybe it's a high velocity SMB process and they're trying to go up market. And there's just a mismatch with alignment of sales process to who they're serving, the vertical they're serving, et cetera. So I think those three things are great areas to focus on because those are associated with the KPIs that I help solve for, if that makes sense.
100%. Why the focus on the $2 to $20 million ARR? What do you see there that is better than, I don't know, 20 plus? Why are you basing yourself on ARR and not, for instance, funds raised, right? Series A just out of a 5 million VC round or funding round. Those people have money to spend. Why do you focus on 2 to 20 million ARR?
Yeah, so I find I don't exclude the other ones like what you mentioned.
Yeah.
I think if they have the right fit, they have the right team, they're open to new concepts and new ways of doing things, I'll certainly partner with them if it's a good fit. But I find that 2 to 20 million ARR, they have real product, real customers, and they just need to, they've proven some product market fit, and now they need to take things to the next level. And that's where I can kind of come in and just roll out the process. That's kind of my viewpoint. And it's kind of a fun stage too. It's not like so crazy where it's all over the place, but there's a lot of areas where I'm like, if you just tweak a few things here and there and you get everyone speaking the same language on the sales team, running the same playbook, good things will happen.
I like that. And it's also, so there is so much difference between a $2 million operation versus a $20 million operation. And I think you nailed it perfectly. Like up until $200,000 a month, you're more like very much founder-led sales because it's going to be the founder making the sales anyways. Past that, you need reps. But so when you're at $20 million ARR, like you obviously have some sales reps already, maybe not perfectly trained, maybe coming from a sales force, although you're selling a much smaller company. So who are your decision makers? Who is the one who makes the decision of like, yes, we need to hire Jon because here there is something happening and we need help?
Yeah, it's usually like the founder, CRO, VP of sales, and sometimes it's a third party consultant. Like I've had in various sales processes that I've ran, especially early on, they'll bring in like their executive coach or some third party consultant that they're using in order to kind of like vet me and ensure that there's going to be good alignment. And I actually appreciate that. Like I welcome that because there's a lot of things I can uncover that the founder might not tell to me that the executive coach or business consultant might share with me. That helps me kind of another piece of the puzzle to better understand their current state to get them to the ideal future state. So yeah, I would say that founder, a VP or CRO, and maybe like some third party consultant that they use typically.
Interesting. So you have cases where you already have a third party consultant involved in sales as well then, or like it's just different and they would need their buy-in if you're to help?
Yeah, like a scaled up coach or something like that. It's very rarely is it another sales consultant because I might be stepping on toes.
So it's so funny. I remember my first project at PwC when we arrived in. So they already had a long time external consultant helping the treasury team, so in the finance function. And we indeed needed to get his buy-in. Actually, it was a gentleman. Or like there is PwC arriving with like 5 analysts and the partner and the director, and we needed to get the buy-in from the consultant that we ultimately ended up replacing. So it's interesting to see how sometimes you actually need to step on some toes. That would make sense in your case. So tell me more about what has worked for you, Jon, to attract those people. Like how do you typically get the attention of a $2 to $20 million ARR founder or like head of sales CRO to be like, okay, we are problem aware, but now we understand that we need external help to actually take this whole thing to the next level. What has worked for you to basically market and brand yourself?
That's a great question. So I would say definitely word of mouth has been good. Posting on LinkedIn, like that has helped significantly with inbound leads. Just like, I hate the term thought leadership, but positioning yourself as a thought leader and talking about, having conversations about a lot of the challenges that they're facing and how I solve for them, or what my observations are working with other companies. And then also referral partners. Referral partners have been really good. Different recruiters. So like headhunters are a great one. Marketing leaders are great. RevOps have been really helpful too in the HubSpot ecosystem. So yeah, I would say those three are the primary ones. So word of mouth, like social posting, and referral partners. Good sources for me.
Oh, so I like this a lot. Word of mouth is my favorite because for me that tells me that you have a great product and people talk about it. Posting on LinkedIn makes a lot of sense. B2B, especially the tech space, they love to be there. How do you? Because I think this is an underutilized way of getting leads, referral partners, and like
Mhm.
actually building this network, especially for consultants. How do you build a network of referral partners who bring you leads? The reason I'm asking this question is because there is actually a thin line between trying to collaborate with competitors or people who do more or less the same thing as you
Mhm.
versus finding people who have the exact same ICP as you, but help on an other side of
Yeah.
the business development. So how have you built this network of like marketers, RevOps, hiring, headhunters? How did you do that?
And this sounds oversimplified, but I tend to be so to make things easy.
It's a good
Networking,
salesperson. Okay.
building great relationships with people, earning the right to be heard, doing great work where people want to partner with you and want to refer their different clients to me. So I think like if you do great work, good things are going to happen for sure. But the networking piece, like having strong relationships, never burning bridges, you never know who your next referral partner could be. And also like groups like Pavilion have been really helpful, like professional networks. I'm an executive in residence at Sales Assembly, so I do corporate trainings for B2B companies through that company. And so there's a lot of FaceTime where you're able to execute on your thought leadership, help people address their sales challenges, talk about pertinent topics that they're facing in the B2B sales world. And all of those are just different channels that are generating leads. So, I mean, even stuff like this, like going on a podcast, posting on LinkedIn, leading a free training, leading a free course, all of those are great, but
Yeah.
nothing's better than word of mouth at the end of the day, whether it comes from a training or, hey, have you heard of this guy? Have you heard of this company? They really help. They're great with growth stage because, like, you could hire like a Deloitte or PwC or some large consulting firm. Nothing wrong with that. You're probably going to get
Mhm.
what you pay for, but it might not be right sized for the business. And it's just a different level of strategy and tactical because I'm actually delivering and executing. So there's people that build out a sales playbook or build out process, but you could just use AI for that these days, right? And then there's sales coaches and trainers. And I'm kind of this like hybrid of the two. So it's like understand your current environment, build out a repeatable process, and then operationalize that process across the team, which is ongoing sales training and enablement. And I focus specifically on B2B SaaS at like early and growth stage. So that kind of puts me in a niche in some ways, which I like.
So there is something that you mentioned here that I want to double down on, John, which is when you build a referral network, people, I mean, of course, the referral fee is nice and, getting paid because you're saying someone business is good. But
Yeah.
what you're really doing is you're giving a vote of confidence. You are putting your reputation at stake. And I think if people listening to us are thinking about building such network, people care more about being able to refer people who they know will deliver and being like, I'm actually building goodwill with that person by referring them to John, because I know John will do a kick-ass work
Yeah.
and they will be happy from that work. And that's what needs to be at stake when we build referral partners, especially as a consultant.
No,
So
totally. It's brand erosion. I mean, they're putting their official stamp on me. Whether
absolutely.
they like it or not, they're aligning themselves with me.
Yeah.
So I think that's good accountability to continue doing great work.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're always being evaluated. And I actually had a coach in my youth days of lacrosse that told me, hey, you're always being evaluated by your parents, teachers, friends, peers. Someday you'll have a job, you'll be evaluated, and you can never get comfortable because you need to keep up leveling yourself because there's that level of accountability. So kind of like
Agreed.
just to excellence in a lot of ways.
Now on to the best part, Jon. How do you, so we always talk about sales on this podcast, selling consulting. So you've gotten that initial awareness. People know about their problem, they know about your solution, they start entering into your pipeline. How do you make them cross the finish line? How do you go from, hey, cool, I've heard about you, or I saw some thought leadership exercise that you are doing on LinkedIn, or someone told me about you, or heard from you from Pavilion, whatever. How do you get them to go from this to SOW, letter of engagement, we rock and roll? How does sales motion look like in Jon's world?
I would say controlling the sales process. Like, I'm a sales guy. So, book a meeting from the meeting, bam, fam. Never leave a call without the next meeting booked. This is blocking and tackling of sales, but calendar close, right? Always having a current state or our understanding position. So like, hey, here's what we talked about last time. These are the current challenges. Has anything changed? This is what we discussed. Is that right? So always having alignment with my understanding of current state and then exactly how we'll solve for it. Being transparent, always following up, doing what you say you're going to do. If I'm like, hey, I'm going to follow up with XYZ, I better follow up with XYZ immediately. And I think little things like review the proposal on the call. Don't just send out a link because you lose control of the sales process. So that's really important. And then also like adding value to each call. So even a discovery call, it's not just like me understanding your challenges, needs, goals, priorities, pains, problems, things like that. It's like, hey, have you considered this? Here's a thought here. Here's what I'm seeing in market. And so you're showcasing your level of expertise on the call. But you're giving them free consulting on the call so they can get a taste of what it's going to be like to partner with you.
Like that. One of the things that Stefania mentions on the stream, which is pretty accurate and true, and I want it to be said here as well, is that referral works both ways. Like, you don't want people to be saying run away from those bad guys because actually I've worked with them or I know them and they're not going to be doing a good work. So back to the reputation aspect, which is very, very true. You want to protect that at all costs. So book a meeting from a meeting. I love this. So I suspect this is not your case, but the one thing, and I was talking to a group of 70 consultants who are building something together right now, and it's like they hate selling. Like, consultants hate selling. They are experts at a very niche thing, very narrow thing, and they are great at this, but they hate like involve all the stakeholders, get all the green lights, agree on budget, make sure things move forward. And a very simple thing is indeed book a meeting from a meeting. Bam, bam. Like, this is where you start to have a regular touch point, even if it's just like, hey, okay, things will have moved forward by then. Even if we don't have a final decision, let's have something in the calendar so we can see where we are in terms of advancement on your side, on our side, and have a clear understanding of what comes next. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and then also just like running a qualification process like MEDDIC or MEDPIC. I mean, I'm operationalizing that for teams. If I wasn't using it myself, that would be pretty dumb, right? I'd be talking out of both sides of my mouth. So it's like I have HubSpot. I record all my calls. I fill out, my MEDPIC categories for each deal. I have mutual action plans with prospects. So we're aligning on key milestones. Are we still tracking to our timeline? And then holding them accountable. And ultimately, like, at the end of the day, this is a microcosm of partnering with me. So if I'm holding them accountable in the sales process and doing, like, practicing what I preach, there's a high likelihood I'm going to do that with their team in terms of like aligning to KPIs and like, OKRs and everything else in order to make them successful. And so I think that's really important to like do the work that you do. So yeah, I think that's the easiest part is the sales process in a lot of ways.
Your case for sure. Yeah. Demonstrating what you do and what you sell and what you help people with by doing it yourself, for me, is absolutely key. Like, walk the talk.
For sure. So they experience it firsthand. And there's no doubt that you can help someone else given that they just experienced that.
What's the acronym that you used when you mentioned like qualification, like MEDIC? What did you mean with it?
MEDIC and MEDPIC. So
MEDIC and MEDPIC. What
metrics,
is that?
economic buyer, decision criteria, decision process, implicate pain, and champion. And then MEDPIC is the same acronym, but it's paper process. And then at the end, it's champion and then competitor. So
Is
you
what I
basically
love.
you can slice it up a couple different ways. But you can have like it binary, like zeros or ones. Do you have a champion or not? 0 or 1. Or it's like 0 to 3, and you can score it and you can evaluate your deal with an objective framework. Because a lot of reps get happy ears where they think a deal is a certain place, the customer said something, but they don't have this objective criteria in order to evaluate. It's a self-diagnostic tool of where the deal actually is versus how you feel. And then you can bake it into your CRM. So it's operationalized there. And a lot of what I do too is deal coaching. So like very complex enterprise deals, we'll go through like a MedPick workshop where you take, your top 5 deals, and every week we're going through a different deal. We're finding the blind spots. Where the deal, do you have a coach or a champion? Do you have access to the economic buyer? What's your next step that you need to do? So it's a nice way of just like having a ruler against the deal and saying, hey, we think the deal's here, but let's inspect the deal to see, based on the customer actions, is it indeed where we think it is? And it's pretty illuminating in a lot of ways, because reps will come in and score their deal like a 6 out of 8. And then they walk out of the meeting as a 1 out of 8, and they know exactly why, and they have definitive next steps to move the deal forward. So it's not a super comfortable experience sometimes, because it can be like ego death for a rep. They're like, oh, wow, this is completely, I'm blindsided by how unqualified my deal is that I thought was really qualified. But at the end of the day, now they picked up some new skills that they can then use to evaluate their deals and have better success in the future.
Oh, tell me more about how you do that very work for your consulting practice, Jon. How do you implement MEDIC and MEDPIC within your practice, and how
Yeah.
can consultants learn from this?
My specific, or what I do with my customers?
So your specifics,
Yeah.
your consulting
Gotcha.
business.
Yeah. That's a great call. So what I'll typically do is I record my calls in Attention, which is a call recorder, but it's call intelligence software. And so the summary of everything done on that call and emails, calls, is all synthesized in the back end, and it's automatically scoring the MEDPIC. So I choose to diagnose my calls, my summaries, in the MEDPIC format. So the AI does that for me, and then it actually fills out the fields automatically in CRM in HubSpot. So I have that all right there of where the deal is, and I know what the delta is for my next call to make sure it's qualified if there's anything that I missed on that call. It just keeps me honest, and then I know all of the deal stages in my CRM are the MEDIC or MEDPIC is embedded there. So I know exactly what needs to happen in each stage for this to be true before it can move to the next stage. So I don't get overly excited by a really good call, because I know that there's a lot of work left to do and a lot more to uncover for me to get the deal closed. But it's all embedded in my CRM.
It does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So once you sign that deal, once you get them on board, how do you retain them? The reason I'm asking this is during my PwC days, one of the partners that taught me everything, one day told me the following. So it was like, Guillaume, there are 2 types of consultants. Actually, it's getting close to sales, so I like this. He was like, there are the hunters and there are the farmers. And he was like, I'm a hunter. I love the smell of fresh blood in the morning. I love to go after new business. That's my jam. But the partners growing the fastest, the ones bringing the most money in, the ones thriving the most, are the farmers, the ones who are able to take that initial engagement and transform it into a multi-layered, multi-year project involving other teams from PwC. Those are the ones that do the best. Because yes, we get through the door, but the farmers are actually demultiplying this thing. So although I can suspect and assume which type of consultants you are by the very nature of your services, how do you go from that initial engagement to, okay, guys, you were 2 million, with put everything in place to take you to 20, but here's how we're going to keep on working together to help you improve, implement, and go to the next step, if at all, right? How do you retain clients and keep on delivering value to them?
That's a great question. I would say adding value. So when they see their KPIs met, they're more likely to extend or renew the contract. So that's one.
Yeah.
Two, you have a weekly executive sync. So I'm always meeting with the CRO and CEO every week. I understand like the new problems facing the business, the challenges, and things were happening so fast at that stage of a company that there's new problems to be solved. So now I'm uncovering the next project I can work on, the next thing I can solve for. And they're far more likely to use me, who has a deep understanding. I've been with them for a year now. They're seeing value. I understand their business, the nuance, the use cases, the challenges, the priorities, problems, pains, all the stuff. And now we can solve for the next thing. And then it's just a new SOW renewal. I mean, I'm just not trying to renew. I'm trying to expand wallet share within that account. So I would definitely say, I mean, yes, it's true. If you're doing business development, right, it's difficult to like, how should I say this? If you're doing business development, you can't deliver. And if you're doing delivery, you can't do business development. But at the same time, in an account, in an engagement, when you're meeting with them so regularly and you have such an intimate understanding of their business, there's natural expansion opportunities that'll take place. And then you can position it as, hey, here's the next thing we can go solve for. What are your thoughts? Let's talk through it. And then kind of go from there.
Music to my ears.
Yeah.
So clearly you're doing a few things right, Jon, given where you are right now after such a short amount of time on your own, right? Because you're doing this for 2.5 years now. What's the one challenge right now? And by challenge, I mean, what's the next, nut to crack so that you're going to take the whole business to the next level? Where do you see that challenge and that biggest opportunity for you in the coming 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, I like kind of being a lean shop. I mean, it's me and 1099 contractors that I use in the back end for delivery, or for more like build out. So it's difficult. You can't scale yourself, right? I can only be in so many places at once, and that's one place. So I would say just growing the team, building the team, hiring someone outside of myself full time. But right now I have a great lifestyle business where you can have a handful of clients at a time, support them, and then bring on people as needed, like contractors as needed that I know and trust. But I think eventually I would like to have some like W-2 employees and full-time employees and grow the team. So I think that'll be the next challenge, is just like expanding the business. But where I am right now, I'm going to have 4 daughters that are 8 years old and under. So an almost 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, an almost 4-year-old, and a 10-month-old. So I'm like, you know what, this is a really good, I got my hands full. And then context shifting with all the clients. And so I think right now I'm at a good place where I'm not looking to like expand or grow beyond my current footprint, because I have a really good thing going. So I can be very strategic about who I bring on and why, and like how that's going to better the business, which is nice. Good problem to have.
You, man. I was going to say, this is a very good problem to have indeed.
Yeah, for sure.
Jon, ladies and gentlemen, Jon, if people want to find out more about you, see what you do, where should they go?
I would love to connect with anyone on LinkedIn. Reach out, would love to connect, would love to jump on an intro call. And then if you go to alignrev.com, that's my website, you can check out some of my work. But yeah, LinkedIn's the place.
So and I believe we are connected already. So you got at least one new connection on LinkedIn thanks to this interview, Jon. We'll also put all the links in the description. Jon, thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders.
Yeah, and thank you so much. I really enjoyed it, man.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.